One day, this pain will either break you or introduce you to who you really are. Right now, you feel it, that quiet disappointment. That heavy truth you try to ignore. You feel it when you wake up tired for no reason. You feel it when you avoid mirrors. You feel it when you realize you are capable of more. But living is less. It eats you slowly. Not loud, not dramatic. Silent, patient, waiting. Waiting for you to accept average. Waiting for you to surrender. Waiting for you to become someone you never wanted to be. And the worst part is not the weakness. The worst part is knowing you chose it, knowing you allowed comfort to steal your future, knowing you betrayed your own potential. Every day you delay, it hits worse. Not outside, inside. Your mind becomes weaker. Your discipline disappears. Your self-respect fades. And one day, if nothing changes, you will look back and realize you never became who you were meant to be. Not because you couldn't, because you didn't. But today is different. Today, something inside you refuses to die. Something inside you is tired of losing. Something inside you is ready to fight. And before you enter that gym, you must understand this. This is not about muscles. This is not about appearance. This is about war. A war between your old self and the person you're about to become. You remember the feeling of being small. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. You remember doubting yourself, second-guessing every decision. Watching others move forward while you stayed frozen. You remember quitting. Not once, not twice, but again and again and again. You told yourself tomorrow. Tomorrow never came. You told yourself you needed motivation. Motivation never stayed. You waited to feel ready. You never felt ready. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into years. Nothing changed. Except your regret grew heavier. You started avoiding challenges. Avoiding discomfort. Avoiding responsibility, because deep down you were afraid. Afraid to failan, afraid to treat, afraid to see your true limits. So you stayed safe. You stayed comfortable. You stayed weak. Not because you were born weak, because you trained weakness. Every time you chose comfort, weakness grew. Every time you avoided pain, weakness grew. Every time you broke your own promises, weakness grew. And slowly, you stopped trusting yourself. Your words meant nothing. Your goals meant nothing. Your identity meant nothing. You became a stranger to your own potential. You watched life pass you by. You watched opportunities disappear. You watched yourself become someone you never respected. And the pain of that reality was heavier than any weight you will ever lift. Because physical pain fades, but regret stays. Regret follows you. Regret reminds you. Regret never forgets. You reached a point where you almost gave up. Almost accepted average. Almost surrendered your future. Almost became comfortable with being less. Almost, but not completely, because something inside you refused to die. There was a moment, quiet, unseen, but powerful. A moment where you saw the truth. No one was coming to save you. No one was responsible. No one was to blame. Only you. Only your choices, only your discipline. And in that moment, everything became clear. You realized motivation was never the answer. Motivation is temporary. Emotion is temporary. Feelings are temporary. But discipline stays. You stopped waiting to feel ready. You stopped negotiating with weakness. You stopped listening to excuses. You understood something most people never understand. Your mind was the battlefield. Your thoughts were either your prison or your weapon began controlling them. Not perfectly, not easily, but intentionally. When weakness spoke, you did not listen. When doubt appeared, you did not surrender. When fear tried to stop you, you moved forward anyway. Not because it was easy, because it was necessary. You made a decision. A real decision. Not emotional, not temporary. Permanent. You chose discipline over comfort. You chose pain over regret. You chose growth over safety. And that decision changed everything. Not instantly, not dramatically, but deeply. Because the moment you stop negotiating with weakness, weakness begins to lose power. You stopped asking how you felt. You started asking what must be done, and you did it. Regardless of emotion, regardless of comfort, regardless of fear. This was the beginning, not of physical change, but mental dominance. You were no longer a victim of your thoughts. You became their master. It was not easy. It was never easy. Every day tested you. Every moment challenged you. Your body resisted. Your mind resisted. Your habits resisted. You felt pain. Real pain. Not just physical, mental pain. The pain of breaking old patterns. The pain of becoming someone new. Some days you wanted to quit. Some days you almost did. Some days weakness felt stronger. Some days doubt was louder. But you showed up. Again and again and again. Not because you felt strong, because you refused to be weak. Progress was slow, almost invisible. No applause, no recognition, no validation. Just effort. Just discipline. Just war. You learned something powerful. Consistency beats emotion. Discipline beats motivation. Control beats chaos. You stopped chasing results. You started chasing standards. You demanded more from yourself, even when no one was watching. Especially when no one was watching. You became obsessed with keeping promises to yourself. Small promises, simple promises, but promises that rebuilt your identity. Every completed action made you stronger, not physically. Mentally, you were no longer controlled by comfort. You were controlled by purpose. Struggle became your teacher. You stopped fearing it. You embraced it. Because you knew this was the price of transformation, and you were finally willing to pay it. Something began to change. Slowly, quietly, but permanently. Your mind became calmer, stronger, sharper. You stopped overthinking. You stopped doubting. You stopped hesitating. You acted. You executed. You moved with certainty, not because life became easier, because you became harder. You developed something rare. Mental strength. You trusted yourself again, not because you never failed, because you never quit. Failure lost its power over you. Pain lost its control over you. Fear lost its voice. You were no longer the same person. Not mentally, not emotionally, not spiritually. You built a new identity, an identity based on discipline. Not emotion, not comfort, not convenience. You no longer needed motivation. You became driven by standards. Driven by purpose. Driven by who you were becoming. You walked differently. You thought differently. You existed differently. Not for others, for yourself. You earned your own respect. And that changed everything, because when you respect yourself, you become unstoppable. Not loud, not arrogant, calm, focused, dangerous. You were no longer trying to prove anything. You were becoming everything. Everything you once believed was impossible. Everything you once feared. Everything you once avoided. You realized something powerful. The gym did not change your body first. It changed your mind. And your mind changed your life. This was never about lifting weight. This was about lifting yourself out of weakness, out of doubt, out of regret. You did not arrive here by accident. You arrived here through pain, through discipline, through sacrifice. You faced yourself. You defeated yourself. You rebuilt yourself. And now, you are different. Not because the world changed, because you did. You no longer wait to feel ready. You act. You no longer listen to weakness. You control it. You no longer fear pain. You use it. You understand now. Discipline is freedom. Control is power. Consistency is transformation. This is who you are now. Someone who shows up. Someone who endures. Someone who finishes. The old version of you is gone, not forgotten, but defeated. And every time you enter that gym, you are not escaping pain. You are building strength. Not just in your body, in your mind, in your identity, in your soul. This is no longer something you do. This is who you are. Calm, disciplined, unbreakable. And from this moment forward, you will never go back.